Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Suzerain. So, in the last episode, we managed to pull off some trade deals. We managed to pull off a trade deal, both a military and a trade deal with Agnolia. And we also managed to pull off a trade deal with Wayland in exchange for some military assistance to help them deal with the Bluish terrorists. So, now going forward, we're going to have to try and work on Lesbia because we can't more than likely do a trade deal with Volksland. Now, I'm making this video right after the last episode, so I'm going to have to make a slight addendum. In the last episode, I did ask whether or not to lift the emergency decree once the time comes or whatnot. I did ask whether or not I should do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Now, I really do kind of want like a full-blown fascist playthrough, but at the same time, if I keep this up, I am going to completely have the economy in the shitter. So I'm not going to be able to turn around and do that this time around. So I'm just going to go ahead and lift the emergency decree once the time comes. And I'm still going to try and keep my state powers and stuff like that. And I think I can actually pull it off. But we'll see how certain things go. I think the main thing is going to be Runeberg. I don't know how that's going to play out. But we'll see how certain things go. I am just making changes left and right. And I apologize for that. So, all right. So as we saw, we have a new trade with Wayland. That's going to be a thing that's in the news, as you can see. And in the Radical, my favorite newspaper, they're talking about the alliance that we have in the war against the Blues. And of course, once again, they're very happy about this. So yeah. Now let's see, what reports do we have? We have an arrest report. Let me see. Over 1,000 people were arrested in Narble. And yeah, that's going to be a problem. Well, that might not be too much of a problem. Maybe it's dealt with. I think Lechaven is one of the better regions, Nargis is one of the better regions, so shouldn't have to worry about too much from them. And we have a surveillance report from Volgan. Okay, they're holding a large amount of people that may pose a threat to Swedish national security. But again, we have the means to deal with this right now. So, let's go back in here, shall we? Extend emergency decree. And the emergency decree helps stabilize the country to a certain degree, but the opposition is growing. The continuous usage of special powers have been opposed by Minister Morgna, while Chief Justice Hawker has argued that the security situation hasn't fully resolved and is demanding an extension to fully stabilize the country. Should we extend or end the emergency? Now again, I said that I would go ahead and revoke it, and I will go ahead and revoke it because I don't think that's going to help us in trade negotiations with Lesbia. So let's go ahead and revoke that thing. Now, this is going to put me in quite a bad position as far as the opposition, because a lot of my opposition was arrested and everything else in between. So yeah, it's going to put me on bad standings with them. But as far as everything else, as the economy goes, it should be pretty good. So, and now we move on to the wealth of nations. Let's see how things go. Hopefully my economy will have improved some. Alrighty, so let's see what we have in the news so far. Health requires more resources. We have an op-ed from the Lechaven Times. Of course, they want us to inject more money into our health services. And the hidden power of men in uniform. The Radical has a nice little piece about men in uniform. So, yeah, typical stuff from them. Alright, I'm guessing they're just talking about the influence of the military and stuff like that. Van Horn wins elections. General elections held in Agnolia this week had resulted in the victory of the Nuris Democratic Union of Agnolia for the second time, with his leader Martin Van Horten continuing his duties as prime minister. So he did win re-election. Like I said, I don't know if there's actually anything you can do to try and make him lose his re-election or whatever. I would think that maybe if you turn around and give him the dog, maybe it might cause such an embarrassing stir that also if you don't do a trade deal with him, maybe he might turn around and lose it. But I'm not sure if there's anything that can be done to make him lose his re-election. Okay, we have the privatization plan proposal. We have the Ministry of Justice files Urson versus Sorlin concurrence. General staff gathers and requested meeting of ISOF Lankia. at the Ministry of Defense. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. All right. So just some privatization plans in general here. I don't think I actually read this the last time I was going through because I don't think it caused a big issue when I was president. In my other playthroughs, I don't think I had enough power to actually do anything. The Ministry of Justice has reviewed the Urson v. Swordland case and put forward in a concurrence opinion before sending the dispute to the Supreme Court. Yeah, I don't know if they actually go into detail about this, but I never saw any detail about it, so I never really knew the significance of it. So, and the general staff has gathered, and I'm guessing they're going to discuss plans about dealing with Runeberg. So, see what ISOF Lankia wants. I arrived in the cubic building that housed most of the military command that resided in Holsword. The gray and brutalist structure looked daunting. I never liked this building. It always made me feel like I was standing under the concrete foot of a giant getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small, and I never quite got used to the feeling even after this many years. At the entrance, I was greeted by ISOF and his military entourage of young officers. "Welcome to the Ministry of Defense, Mr. President. Let's go to my office." We walked from corridor to corridor to reach the office. On the way, we were met with high-ranking officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted me. When we finally arrived at ISOF's office, his entourage saluted us and left. He closed the door and took a seat. Where's Vulcan? He usually partakes in all military meetings. Vulcan is busy at the moment overseeing the defensive strategies against Runeberg. He leaned back and interlocked his hands. The situation with Runeberg is getting worse, and if it wasn't for our investments in the military, I would be even more concerned. I'll make sure... Wait, we're prepared for the worst, aren't we, ISOF? Truthfully, not fully prepared. We're still going through a few changes in the military to be able to confront them if such day was to arrive. Our efforts to restructure the military should prove beneficial in a potential conflict. We will never be able to march the force of Runeberg on equal terms, therefore our switch of the military to a smaller, well-equipped, and autonomously led combat units will prove better in the field. You've been doing a fantastic job, ISOF. The military is in good hands. I'm doing my best to defend the country. There's nothing I care for more than Swordland. The recent military partnership we've signed with Agnolia includes a mutual defense clause. In case of conflict, we will be obliged to come to each other's aid. In case of Runeberg invasion, they will come for help. Okay. Do you think their support will be enough to hold the line? I don't think so. Mr. President, we need stronger allies. Sure, Agnolia is better than nothing, but we must look further. Lesbia or Volsland are options, in my opinion. Advice noted. I will bring it up to David. Any deterrent should force them to think twice. As a result of the recent deal with Wayland, we've started organizing the troops for the joint operation. General Vulcan and I were discussing the war plan. 12th Battalion of the 3rd Army, along with our air support units, will do the job. We will meet up with the Wessex Military Command to discuss our joint strategy. You will be provided with our reports. Be wary. I don't trust Victor Smoluk even a little bit, nor his army. We're always ready for any situation, Mr. President. ISOF cleared his throat. Let's move on to our main topic. The mandatory conscription laws have become a matter of discussion, and we need to strike a decision whether to keep it or remove it. The facts are that the conscription gives us a large reservist pool that can cover a large front line, but these troops lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. It is the last step remaining to switch to a modern professional armed force. Our restructuring is hindered by hundreds of thousands of cadets extending our logistics, slowing command structure, and reducing the combat efficiency of our experienced units. If they are a hindrance, then we should remove mandatory conscription. We need all of our resources concentrated on our efficient units that will outperform the enemy in our mountainous terrain. The choice is up to you. I thought for a moment before making my decision. Remove mandatory conscription. It is time to have a professional force of willingly enlisted soldiers. Sure, the new changes will be implemented as you wish. A strong knock on the door was heard, and the chief of the armed forces, Vulcan Kruger, walked in quickly with a frown. What is the meaning of this, Isov? Why haven't I been invited? What is going on here? You are overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the president. Vulcan deliberated the situation. Let's see what's going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I'm leading the ground operations and I must be informed of any strategic changes. Well, now that you're here, what is your opinion on conscription? The matter is rather simple from my point of view. Our forces have large structural changes, changing the operational capabilities and tactics. However, at the end of the day, Brunberg has a larger army, air force, and navy. Our conscripts will feel the much-needed weakness we have. Throwing bodies at a problem never solved it. Not sure if this is the right approach, unless you're Russia. Well, we can't have less troops on the front line than the enemy. Now, with our current structure focused on mass mobilization, I would ask you to consider. No, I'm content with the decision. Alright, then we can move on. We also have to decide how exactly we spend our additional remaining funds in the military. In June, we decided to upgrade the equipment of our military. The military thanks the administration for the extensive support, especially in creating a modern fighting force. We need to decide what branch we would want to modernize more. Now, honestly, I have two minds about this too, because the last time I did this, I went ahead and did the Air Force. It didn't seem like it actually did much in the end, but I feel like we need air superiority more than anything, and it's our biggest force, so it seems like it makes more sense to turn around and modernize them. But now that I think about it a little bit more, the army probably needs to be modernized the most because they have very outdated equipment, and since we have a smaller army, we need them to have better weapons in order to maximize, again, the efficiency of having a smaller army. As far as the Navy goes, we're fucked. Like that, there's really no way to really get around that. I mean, if you turn around and give money to the Navy, like, yeah, we need more ships and everything else in between, but we just wouldn't have enough time to make that many ships. I mean, it's even like now in the United States, it takes a very long time to make, the cruisers and stuff we have. And the main reason why we have so many is that we've been making them for decades. Whereas like China just made their first super carriers a couple years ago. So, and we have thousands of them at this point, or at least a couple hundred as far as I know. But yeah, this seems just like a money sink in the end. If we could work a deal out with Volkswagen, maybe, but right now it just seems like a money sink. So we need to focus on our army. The army can be modernized and match the quality of most neighbors. Strategically speaking, the army would be the safest choice. However, the air and naval forces would do well with further modernization too. Which branch should we modernize? Modernize the army. We need better equipped soldiers. As you wish. The changes will be implemented this month and finished at the end of November. Thank you for listening. And I'll salute. I left the Ministry of Defense and returned to the Maroon Palace. Alright, that is out the way, and Jesus Christ, we have 10 news things. Alright, let's see what we got here. Boys to men, not without conscription. I'm guessing they're not too happy about that. Sorlin will join Operation Bear Trap, and this is true. And stability in doubt. And they're not happy about me revoking the Emergency Act. Interesting. And emergency no more. They're happy about that. To a degree. They still say that the economic damage will linger, which is true. And they're reporting on it as well. And of course, they're happy about the whole not having to deal with conscription anymore. Oh yes, and now Justice Hawker is trying to screw me over. Good thing I'm having him investigated right now. So there's that. Alright, and I think that pretty much wraps up those news articles. Jin citizens decry the revocation of the emergency decree. So, they're not too happy about that. Freedom is such a terrible thing after all. Let me see your Air Force Base update. This is just more stuff about Arcadia moving in. Don't have a problem with that. And there's a women's right march in Enrica. I'm sure my wife will be happy to hear about that. And in Suzerain, the citizens are celebrating the revocation of the National Emergency Act. Okay. Now, on to Justice Hawker, who's trying to screw me as well. The Supreme Court is going to retroactively review the constitutionality of the Emergency Act. You know, the thing that he told me to do. Oh boy, if only I could have people assassinated. If only. Also, my budget went up by 1, so that's nice. And the opening of the L1 Railway. We arrived in Holsord for the grand opening ceremony of the L1 high-speed rail. It was a proud moment for all of us. Simon and Gus, who heavily assisted the project, were with me along with Lucien to decide on how to proceed tomorrow. Lucien stood up. First of all, congratulations everyone. Too many more projects like this. Well done everyone. We couldn't have done this without our excellent team. Indeed. Let's move on to our plans for the opening tomorrow. It's been a long time since the last successful infrastructure project. There's a good reason to capitalize on this occasion. I have a plan on how to do that. If Mr. President accepts, driving the first high-speed train to Lechaven would be great for our image nationwide. What are your thoughts? I don't support anything beyond the opening ceremony. Actions speak for themselves anyway. I see your point, but involving the president further could be beneficial for the administration. I think so too. I agree. There's much to gain. Very well. Sounds fantastic. The president arriving to Lechaven on the driver's seat would make the headlines for sure. Additionally, a large crowd is invited for the ceremony and will be watching the opening speech. Like the good old campaign days. Things were certainly easier back then. Simon stepped in for a comment. On another note, it goes without mentioning that this was a team effort. Beginning with the president who put his trust in me, I want to thank all who were involved in the L1. Simon, you deserve a lot of credit. After all, it was you who came up with the project. We had our disagreements, but the important thing was the outcome. Swordfish people got what they needed for a long time. We will show our best face tomorrow. Meanwhile, I'll make sure that our message of improving the countryside will get across. Alright then, we have a lot of work to do tomorrow. See you in the morning. Once again, good work everyone. The team left, leaving the rest of the evening to prepare for the big day tomorrow. The next day, a stage had been erected inside the central station along the new electrified railway line. The sunny weather created a positive mood in the usually gray Holsord. The crowd looked quite large. I spotted many party members among them. We began moving towards the stage as the excitement grew. Signal Lucien to begin the ceremony. We were all ready to begin the ceremony. I gave the green light and the opening address began. Brothers and sisters of Swordland, I welcome you Holsordians today as a proud servant of this country. Lucien's voice echoed in the central station. Thousands of Swordland and USP flags began to wave as the loud cheers intensified. Without further ado, I invite the president of Swordland to the stage. Move up to the stage. I moved up to the stage to address the crowd. The press was taking dozens of pictures. Okay. Citizens, welcome to the opening ceremony of the L1 Highway Speed Railway. Well, High Speed Railway. Jesus, I keep messing that up. The chanting and excitement from the crowd intensified. A large group began singing the national anthem. Trust me, our work is far from over. The project is only the beginning of good tidings. Our intention with the L1 Railway was to serve our citizens who were having a hard time traveling between the major cities of Holsord. The railway brings thousands of new jobs. Many unemployed citizens have benefited and will benefit on the path of the railway. I have to thank the mind behind the railway project for it all, the esteemed Minister of Economy and Tax, Simon Hall. Please come over here. Simon walked up beside me. Thanks, Mr. President. Our aim with this project is obvious: to improve the speed and efficiency of transportation. I'm sure each one of you will be proud of the achievements made during the project once we cut the ribbon, and you can get on that train yourselves. Simon mentioned the beginning of a sortish economic recovery and the plans to stop the recession altogether. Lucien took Simon's place after he was done with his speech. Citizens of Wholesword, there you have it. I promise Anton Rain, the fourth president of Swordland, has delivered, as promised. Jesus. We moved towards the line where the first electric train was waiting. A red ribbon was hanging by the door of the train. Simon gave me a large pair of scissors to commence the opening while the crowd was watching. Cut the ribbon? I cut the ribbon, which led to a huge wave of cheering from the crowd. Many flashes went off at the same time. Congratulations to all. It was a solid and fruitful effort, hopefully with much more to come. It's a good moment indeed. We have helped so many in the countryside. The train is prepared and ready. The journey to Lechaven should take about 4 hours, and the rest of us will be in the carriage with you. Enter the train. I entered the cab and took a seat with the assistant beside me. The crowd was trying to catch a glimpse of me sitting as the driver of the train. Who do you want to travel with you in the cab, Mr. President? I'll bring Simon along. This isn't necessary, but I won't refuse. We can talk about future economic projects. As we began driving the train out of the central station, the media took photos of me and Simon, who smiled to the cameras. The new train was in pristine condition, and the electric engine made much faster acceleration possible while providing minimal noise and maximum comfort. After the relaxing 4-hour drive to Lechaven, we were welcomed by celebratory citizens of Lechaven Station. The railway officially opened to the public as soon as we arrived, and thousands began utilizing it. Today was a great victory for the administration. All right, so we have the high-speed rail, and I think you can actually see this in perhaps the economy section. Let's see, average transportation links. A new infrastructure investment by the government has slightly recovered the transportation network connections. Elway high-speed railway. So yeah, we have that. You can also see our military is doing a lot better. We have a modernized army. And we can rival most armies, if not all. But we do have a lack of reservists now. So there's that. But again, we're making progress. We are making progress. Okay, so now that we've dealt with that, let's see what we have in the news. Of course, me opening the L1 railway. And another victory for Underhall. So yeah, that's a thing. All right, briefing on the current economic situation. The team gathered in Wholesword at the Ministry of Economy to conduct an economy overview meeting to go over the current situation. The building was constructed in 1892 by Huron Walt, one of the, if not the most, famous architect in Swordland. The building looks simple and elegant, with a few of his signature domes spread out over the roof. Walking through the large bronze doors at the entrance, I was led by 2 assistants upstairs into a meeting room. Everyone stood up as I entered the room, buttoning their suit jackets. Welcome, Mr. President. Please take your seats. Everyone took their seats. As you all know, today we'll go over our economic status. Let's begin without any further ado. The aid we've received from Arcasia has helped us tremendously. Personally, I think it was a great decision, Mr. President. We will use the majority of the capital to combat the recession. Let me see, I would expect nothing less from our Arcasian friends. Well said. How are we doing in terms of the infrastructure? The success of the first infrastructure project is already showing a positive effect on the economy. Mikhail started grinning as he leaned forward. Thanks to the high-speed railway, our 2 most important cities are linked faster. We're expecting quick economic growth in Greater Wholesword and Gelsland. The Business Council is satisfied with the infrastructure improvement. It was a gargantuan effort from our side in the Ministry of Economy. Positive results show that we are on the right path towards economic growth. The people are already speaking of the positive turn. I can see the reactions in society. David, do you have the stats on our deal with Agnolia? Our trade deal with Agnolia has increased our imports and exports by 25% in 1 month, with much more to be expected in the future. But higher prices of Agnolian steel didn't result in a trade surplus. That's what we expected. That's true. Regardless of the surplus, Agnolia is an important partner to have. We should see our improved relations with Agnolia as a stepping stone to expand positive influence. I support our foreign initiative with partners as democratic as Agnolia. I didn't ask for your opinion. Let me see, I agree. Aligning ourselves to more democratic countries is good for Swordland. I don't believe that at all, but hey, let the trade flow. It is good for overall trade with our countries as well. Democratic countries generate more trust in general. Let's hear the stats on our deal with Wayland. Our deal with Wayland has increased our imports and exports by 60% in 1 month, which is a considerably good number. Perfect. Regardless, the numbers are clear. I must say, I still can't get behind a deal with Wayland, especially when it involved the military cooperation. I feel like we've made a contract with the devil. We are reaping the benefits. We'll come out on top. What I'm worried about is not only about Wayland, it's the other countries too. Increased trade has improved our economy. I see this as a reason for celebration. On a side note, consumer spending has decreased further due to a pessimistic mood caused by the issues with our economy. I'm confident we will turn this mood around with adaptive projects and solutions. Good to hear. We will do better. While I agree that our first attempts were not successful, we still might have economic opportunities left. It isn't good for our reputation as the people expected quick solutions. We're running out of time. Simon checked his large dossier. Some good news, we currently have a budget surplus. That means we can pursue many investments which would drive our economy upwards. I will present you the draft documents of economic expansion soon. It's excellent news. I agree. With the extra money, there is much more we can do. As per the latest data, unfortunately, the recession seems to be lingering. No matter the cost, we will have to increase our economic development rates. Otherwise, I'm sad to say that we will be doomed. We need to use the opportunities we are shown. Trade deals and infrastructure improvements always help. Mr. President, I will be very clear. Simon took off his glasses and put them on the table. He looked at me straight in the eye. You already know this, and I don't want to frighten you, but if we are unable to stop the recession, we are heading towards an economic catastrophe that was never ever seen before in Swordland. No, in the entire Eastern Marcopa. I can't even begin to imagine how we could survive that. None of us want to see Swordish people starve while the state is unable to provide for its citizens. Then we need to get to work. Exactly. He puts on his glasses. Now, to help with the recession, there are a few possibilities I want to outline. We have a surplus, but regardless, even if we have to get into debt, we need to increase our economic development. I prepared a few proposals. There are two main distinctions in between these projects. It's either about continuing our infrastructure improvements or investing in increasing production. If we continue our infrastructure, that would lift us up to advanced country levels. However, our industrial production suffered and also needs a boost to return to pre-recession levels. There is of course the option to not take any risk related to our budget. The plans for these projects will be finalized soon. For now, I can provide preliminary information. Which one would you like to hear first? Let's hear about the projects that could help our infrastructure. For infrastructure, we have two projects. One is the Benfey International Airport, and the other is the Morna Port. Benfey is growing at a rapid pace and would benefit highly from an international airport. Much more money to be made there too. The Morna Port will boost trade and improve the flow of goods toward Hosor because The Conrad port is too small in capacity, and extension is blocked by the Navy headquarters. Morna would be a more significant city with a port, and the advanced logistical connections to Holsort would be better utilized. I don't think investing in Morna with a port would do much to change our economic prospects. Goods are flowing from other places just as fast. Increased imports and exports on a more accessible path to Holsort is very lucrative in my opinion. Time is money. I agree with Edith. The Morna port will mean a great deal to our trade and improve the economy of the Lauren region too. And I think that would also help too, because since we have the railway connection, that would also kind of link us to Lorna and basically make this a really booming trade area. So yeah, that might help also. What about the projects to boost production? For production, we have two projects. One is the Sarna Agricultural Zone, and the other is the Conrad Industrial Zone. I see the Sarna Agricultural Zone investment as a higher priority due to the fact that farmers in Bergia were the most hit by the recession. Sarna also is a much poorer city than Conrad. The Conrad Industrial City project has the potential to increase manufacturing in the greater Holsort region by a large amount. Conrad could benefit from a larger manufacturing industry. It would bring the city to a position where it could rival Chaven. We should invest and develop Conrad to diversify the economy in greater Holsort, which would mean a great deal. Manufacturing and investments are the kind of investments we need for a healthy economy and our currency strength. Conrad is a developing city with a lot of potential, while Sarna and the Bergia region are lackluster. Okay, very well. That covers our subjects for today. I won't ask any more questions about the economy. Anybody want to add anything? Nobody answered. That concludes the meeting. Have a good day. Goodbye. Until next time, Mr. President. See you soon. Alrighty, so we're starting to make some headway on the economy. Now, of course, the economy is still at a 1, and we need to get that boosted up. But we do have a bit of a budget now, so we can actually do things. So, alright, housewives march to defend Swordfish tradition in Unrika. And Narble hosts the largest anti-rain protest yet, with 5,000 citizens. Great. Police violence escalates against protesters, and protesters are brutally beaten by the police. Always problematic. And Operation Bear Trap begins between us and Wayland. And amid sparking tensions with Agnolia, Vogsland increases its naval presence. That makes me less inclined to open up that port, since we're going to probably end up having problems with Vogsland in the future. Okay. See what we got up here. Let's see. Van Horden warns about Voxlandian presence. So, of course, their naval presence in the Markian Sea. That's going to be an issue. An issue that we can't do anything about. So, yeah. We have police violence in Morna. Let's see. What else do we have here? Protest in Narble. Just read about that. Polio cases discovered in rural Suzerain. So, yeah, this is going to be a problem at some point. And we have pro-Blutish protests in Bergia, which has a huge Blutish population. Okay, we have another investment in mega projects. We have an update on the education privatization. Okay, so we've improved the education in some major cities. Nice. Alright, we have several investment projects. And oh crap, it's a -2 government budget. So this is going to throw us back into a negative budget situation. But hopefully, even though it would throw us back into a negative budget situation, we can go ahead and actually increase our economy output. So we have between the Benfey International Airport, the Conrad Industrial Zone, the Morna Port, or the Sorna Agricultural Zone. Or we can just not invest in anything. Now, I think in this particular case, I might go ahead and do the international airport, because we do need an actual... I did read a report earlier about having to deal with the overcrowded airport that we have over there. Then again, the Conrad Industrial Zone looks well too. And I think the Conrad Industrial Zone, yeah, that would help the greater Holsworth area, which would also help this entire region, in my opinion, because again, we already have, oh boy, I didn't mean to go all the way over there. Okay, but if we turn around and do that, and we already have the L1 railway as well, this would just make trade really boom in this area. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Conrad Industrial Zone. I did the Benfey International Airport once before. I got a little bit of an economic boost, but not a huge boost. So let's do the Conrad Industrial Zone instead. All right, it's gonna throw us into a -1. And as far as our economy goes, well, we haven't seen anything different happening here yet. And of course, with order, we have crime curbed. Okay, so that's nice. All right, where is our next situation? We have reports. Bloomberg condemns terror against the Blues. So now all of a sudden, Bloomberg cares about our Blues citizens. Because, you know, we're the bad person here. We kind of are, though. Okay, budget allocation of healthcare. Of course, we don't have much of a budget allocation to give them in the first place because we decided to cut things. So I was having my afternoon tea in my office and going through the newspapers. One of the headlines piqued my interest. It read, "Polio crisis in Wayland." Before I could start reading, I heard a couple of knocks. Pascal entered, followed by Lucien. "Mr. President, it's time for the scheduled healthcare meeting." "Good afternoon." "Very well, let's begin." They have taken their seats and Pascal produced documents from his suitcase. He put them on the table. Pascal looked at the newspaper I was reading. "Very troubling news from Wayland, Mr. President. I've just returned from a meeting with our top scientists on the matter of polio. It seems to be spreading." Why am I just learning this from a newspaper? "We're already evaluating the situation and did not want to bother you with it yet, Mr. President. We are working on a comprehensive report. We've notified all of our healthcare staff, especially the ones closer to the Wayland border. Unfortunately, these are also the more rural areas where we lack equipment and staff. What I was told by our researchers was that with the current infection rates, there would soon be millions of people infected with polio. We need to be ready for any possibility." I doubt it's that serious yet. Regardless, back to the topic, Mr. Bennywall. "Mr. Bennywall." Yes, of course. Let's start." He put the papers down, cleared his throat, and looked at me. "In general, the ministry is not very content with the decision to cut the budget of our healthcare system. The reduction of health funds is going to hurt no matter how we manage it. I will need to make big concessions which will hamper our efforts." "I'm sure you can figure out a way to come out of this strong. I put trust in you. Not money, but trust." "I don't think that this is a matter that can be easily solved. More thought needs to be put in how do we go about lowering our budget, or where do we cut it from? As you know, I've been preparing a new privatization program that would create funds through selling of unused ministry property and some extra taxes. It might not go against our strategy to promote a market economy, but I'm personally against privatization of government services. Such vital services must be under state control. Aside from creating additional funds, there's a long-term problem with privatization in a country like Swordland. I don't see a problem with privatization. It would create additional funds and boost enterprise. For now, it wouldn't. Privatization would be fair if our healthcare standards were high and accessible for all. The market should take care of it by itself. We can't regulate people like that. This is not Arcadia nor Lesbia. You're talking about Swordland, in which the healthcare is free for now. We have people who have their lives depending on a service that is free to them. Messing with that structure will definitely hurt us politically in the future. That I know for sure. But the choice is yours, Mr. President. We will promote privatization and allow the private sector to invest and buy government properties because we need the money." "Excellent. We can turn that money into something useful. I shall let my partners know. I don't think this was the right choice. That is all then. Very well, fruitful meeting, nevertheless. Nice and short. Thank you for the meeting. Pascal gathered his documents and left along with Lucien. Alright, so we're privatizing healthcare, and as you see, we got a nice little boost to the economy for that. So now our budget is at 0 and not in the negative. So if we can kind of maintain this between 0 and maybe -2 balance, I think we'll be okay in the long run. So, and of course our trade deals is going to help us a lot. So today, reports of Blutish men crossing border to fight against Wayland. So they're getting involved. That's a problem. A real threat to public health care. Of course, they're very happy with my decision to privatize healthcare. Ishvar Ursarin is right. Sure, no idea what that's about. Government's iron grip on healthcare ends. So, and of course, the economy is very happy about us going ahead and turning around and privatize the healthcare industry. And thousands protest the new governor of Helgeland. I can never say this right because every single time I look at it, I see two different things. So it's just I keep going back and forth with the pronunciation of it. But yeah, problems over there. All right, let's see what reports we have. Ursine versus Swordland case, and we have. Oh yeah, we already read this news article there too. Okay, and Wayland, what do you got? Oh, okay, that was the joint operation report from Operation Bear Trap. Okay, meeting with the Chief Justice on the Emergency Act. They're not happy with me because I let it go. Earlier today, I learned that Franz Richter's complaint had been rejected by the Supreme Court and deemed illegal. I had stopped the state of emergency, but the reformists in the old guard were still coming after me. I called the Chief Justice Hawker's office to demand an explanation, but he wasn't in. I sat by the phone waiting for him to call back. I waited and waited. Suddenly, I heard a knock at the door. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. President, but Justice Garassi is here to see you. Send him in. Right away. She opened the door for Hiron Garassi and closed the door behind her. Hello, Mr. President. Sorry to have come unannounced, but I'm sure you expected us. I'm sorry if I disappointed you, but the Chief Justice is very busy. What is the court plotting, Mr. Garassi? We're not plotting anything, Mr. President. Please calm down. You already know that Franz Richter has filed a complaint about your Emergency Act being unconstitutional. The judges couldn't ignore his arguments. To be honest, Mr. Richter has made a very compelling case against the Emergency Act. It's going to be very hard for us to refute it. Of course, there are some justices who believe you were to blame from the beginning. Going against the Constitution was an impeachable offense, after all. What is the meaning of this? You promised to eliminate the national security threats, yet you stopped the emergency before our security forces could successfully do so. This is having very negative effects on Swordland, Mr. President. You were supposed to use the state of emergency to its full advantage, not trigger more dissent by attacking militants and retreating before defeating them. As you know, the Constitution states, no state shall modify or suspend the rights of freedom defined in Article 100 of the Constitution, unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not allow for delay. Personally, I of course believe the emergency was fully justified. It would be a shame if the rest of the court failed to agree, but it isn't up to me, unless a majority of the court could somehow be convinced to take your side. Okay, I get it. You have demands. Well, we are simply a little disappointed about the lack of proper budget for our police and military forces. The Emergency Act has taken a heavy toll on them. I gave them money. What are you talking about? And we have a few other suggestions that may help you manage the difficult period in the best way possible. We wish to see you address these concerns before the judicial review is concluded. Tell me about them. Of course. Mr. Hawker and I only want to make sure that you are on our side, Mr. President. Addressing these concerns of ours would be a great place to start. Firstly, we're concerned about Swortland's current immigration laws. We fear too many troublemakers are crossing the border to lend support to militant organizations. There have been countless cases of foreigners joining the fight against our state. We require better border security and a tighter immigration policy. I can't do that. Not for my trade. Of course not. That's precisely why we are concerned about your management of this sensitive period. Keeping the current policy would be a grave mistake. We hope to see you revert your earlier decision to relax immigration laws with a decree as soon as possible. Our biggest concern, however, regards the oligarchs, Walter Tusk and Marcel Caranti. They are in close cooperation with Arcadia and have ties to almost every other country on this continent. As we all know, they only care about money. It is clear that they are trying to profit from the violence in Swortland and abroad. We have reason to believe they are supporting the militant organizations we are fighting against. What are you suggesting here? We are already in an emergency, Mr. President. In these difficult times when unity is so sorely needed, they pose a great threat to all of Swortland. We propose a nationalization plan to eliminate the power of the oligarchs. The state must have control over their assets, namely Walter Tusk's Bergia Steel and Marcel Caranti's Heart of Swortland. We can't let a handful of people control the treasury, can we? Now, here's the thing. I've done this before, nationalized them and stuff like that. And I think economically wise, in the end, it turned out okay. But I don't plan on doing that again because it tanked my budget. And you can already see how this would probably be bad, because if I turned around and reinstituted, tightening up immigration and then nationalize it, my economy, good Lord, it would be destroyed. So I'm definitely not going to do that. So not to mention, Marcel knows a lot about what's going on, so that might be problematic. So we are already working on market economy reforms. Your little proposal doesn't align with my plans. Really? Mr. President, you don't seem to understand the whole picture here. This is not only a matter of revoking the validity of your decree. As much as we're doing our best to help you out, the court could still decide to try you for deliberately going against the Constitution. There's more. You must reverse your ridiculous decision to end mandatory conscription. A large, strong military is the only way to ensure stability in this country. Do that, and we will see about the rest. Well, for now, I must leave. I hope you'll think long and hard about what we just talked about. He extended his hand towards mine. And you can fuck right off. He raised an eyebrow and then smiled. Goodbye, Mr. President. Thank you for your time. He went out and closed the door behind him. I reflected on our conversation for a moment. Would it be worth re-tightening the laws on immigration to keep the old guard happy? I had promised the people of Swortland that I would open our borders, and I followed through. Turning back now would mean betraying all that work. On the other hand, so would losing the court's case. I am not tightening immigration. Sorry. I decided to ignore their demands on immigration. And then there was the conscription issue. If I reversed my policy, boys like my son would be forced to join the army. Would I be able to live with that? Leave the law... Wait. Oh no, leave the law as it is. I decided to ignore Heron's demands on conscription. I leaned back in my chair. Was my decision to work with the old guard right? Even if I was wrong, would I be able to get out of this if I wanted? I actually don't know. I don't know. I do think that there's a way I can get out of this. Hopefully, my secret state police can find something on these bastards. Alright, it's time to award a company the contract. So, yeah, I did say before that I was going to turn around and do Taurus Holding. There's only one thing I'm kind of worried about with Taurus Holding. Before, I turned around and gave Taurus Holding the contract with, I think it was on a highway project in one of my playthroughs or whatever. And as you see, no budget calls. When I did that, I was kind of warned that they might screw that up. They screwed it up. So I ended up having to pay them in the end anyway. Now, hopefully with this one, it's a little bit smaller of a project, so maybe they'll be able to do it and I won't be penalized in the end. Also, with Arcadia already working with us, that means there's some trade already going on. So let's see. Taurus Holding. And it doesn't negatively affect my economy right now. So, nice, nice, nice. Hopefully everything will work out. Okay, we have updates on the situation of education, and we have a call from Gus Manger. I'm guessing that's about my investment opportunities, so let's see. The sun was setting over Wholesword. I was in my office working on the preliminary details that Sierra sent over about the curriculum. The phone rang and I picked it up. Mr. President. Yes, what is it? Mr. Manger is on the line, sir. He said it is about an investment. Excellent. Connect him through. As you wish. A momentary crackling noise indicated the line changed. Mr. Manger, to what do I owe the pleasure? Mr. President, as your secretary might have informed you, I'm calling you about what we discussed at the party. I'm honestly very glad that I decided to attend Mr. Vice President's little gathering. A very enjoyable party turned out to be even more enjoyable with actual results out of it. You're absolutely right. Well then, I'm very happy to inform you that your investment to procure the vineyard in Earlery has been accepted by the current resident. You are now the owner of a lovely vineyard, a beautiful villa, and a sizable land. As I mentioned before, there might be some costs related to refurbishing the winemaking equipment, however, the facilities are there. I will have the deed and the keys sent to you immediately. Congratulations are in order, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Manger. It wouldn't be possible without you. Thank you, Mr. President. You're too kind. I'm looking forward to more successful ventures we might do together in the future. Thank you for your time. Let me know if there are any other opportunities. Of course, I'll be in contact. Have a good evening, Mr. President. The line dropped. And my personal wealth is at 7 now. So nice. And I can turn a profit from that later on too. Okay, situation of the education. After a meeting with the rector and a brief tour of the University of Volgan, we gathered in a room with Sierra. The entire campus was visible from the windows. Students were reading books, studying, and having picnics under the trees. It reminded me of my own times at La Chavin Business School, at least the more carefree moments. Reminiscing about the past? It's nothing. I'm not on good terms with Sierra, so yeah. Let's begin then. I want to start off by saying this. Unfortunately, our fuel is running out at the Ministry of Education. Our education system is in shambles, and I'm trying to do my best to pick up the pieces and keep it going. But little money we allocated from privatization will be diverted to improvements. I doubt it will be enough to make substantial change. I'm sure you will make do. That is precisely the problem. We can't. We will have to make cuts from wherever we can. She brought out a stack of papers from her bag. Spinning her ballpoint pen, she went through the papers, organizing some of them together. That's all there is for now. I've talked with Miss Suno to schedule some time to discuss the curriculum. She's a very astute woman, your secretary. You may want to consider promoting her. We will meet again very soon. See you at our next meeting. Sarah pushed the papers back in her bag and left the meeting room. Okay. So what do we have next? We have a briefing on the current curriculum in schools. And we also have this from the Wholesale Post, the Conrad Industrial Zone. So just talking about that. So yeah. And also hopefully with Taurus Holdings being an Arcadian company, we can also get some of that technology from them. Maybe they can help with that. So okay, briefing on the current curriculum in schools. Sierra had scheduled a short meeting at the Ministry of Education to discuss the current curriculum taught in schools. The ministry building was located in the government district right next to the Ministry of Health. It was tall, narrow, and wedge-shaped like a slightly open book. Near the front gate, there were many statues of world-renowned scientists and thinkers. The largest, of course, was Artvin basically Einstein. Above the main entrance was the familiar inscription, all of that. Education is the premise of progress in all societies and all families. Inside the building, I was greeted by Sierra's assistant. They led me to a meeting room where she was waiting inside. She stood and gripped my hand. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Sierra. I will cut straight to the chase. You've elected not to reform Sortland's education system. I've already voiced my many objections to that, but I respect your decision. There is, however, one sticking point. It involves evolution versus creationism. As it currently stands, schools across Sortland can decide whether to include evolution, creationism, or both in their curriculum. Rural schools often decide in favor of creationism only, which puts students at a disadvantage when it comes to entering university. The effect is especially noticeable among young women. My suggestion is to make the teaching of evolution mandatory and preferably ban creationism altogether. Oh boy. So yeah, there's that. Okay, I don't think I'm going to change anything in this particular case because again, I didn't do much in order to turn around and help education in general, so I won't change anything as far as the curriculum goes. Let's see. I don't see a problem with teaching our children both theories. That would be one way to compromise, yes, but does creationism really help open the minds of our children? The way I see it, it promotes the blind acceptance of the world as it is, no facts or verification needed. Children should be encouraged to think critically and ask questions. Creationism and other religious teachings hinder that. Okay. Regardless, I don't believe schools need to ban creationism entirely. I don't see the harm in letting students decide for themselves. Honestly, that's a valid argument. I can live with that. Lucien Galad knocked and entered. Excuse me, some urgent business kept me away. Welcome, Mr. Galad. Mr. President, Miss Walder. Why were you late? Yeah. The general staff had some concerns about the Runeberg border. I already provided you with a report. Nothing else. Okay. We were just discussing the curriculum. No. I'm not gonna give Sierra any credit. Again, we're not on the best of terms. Glad you came. I need to hear some opinions that make sense. Sierra frowned. Oh, very well. Continuing from my previous point, it is my conviction that we should require the mandatory teaching of evolution in Sortland's public schools and cut creationism completely out. If we want children from rural areas to have the same opportunities as their urban counterparts, this is the way. Opening students' minds and reducing the role of religion in schools will also lead to more equality between young men and women. Ms. Waldo, don't bring your pet cause into this. Mr. President, there are other considerations you may not have thought about. Although I myself believe in evolution, we must be careful not to alienate our rural conservative voter base. We owe a lot to their support. Forcing their school districts to teach evolution could irreparably damage our standing with them. Every modern nation is reducing or removing creationism in their curriculum. Yet we are supposed to allow schools to promote fundamental and, yes, sexist ideas from 1,000 years back. So is that what we're doing now? Copying what other nations are doing instead of paving our own way? If it works, why not? Look at the analysis. It is clear that the superpowers are doing something right. Should we reinvent the wheel, Mr. Galad? You speak as if we don't import any influences from other countries. That's not what I said. Their voices started to get louder and louder. I held up my hand for silence. We can still allow creationism to be taught alongside evolution. Sierra, you said you could live with that. Yes, although I won't like it, I still believe schools are no place for religion. I won't like it either. You'll have to prepare to lose a lot of voters. Sierra looked me in the eye. It is your decision. Don't forget, Future generation of swordish youths are counting on you. We will stick to the current system. Evolution will not be mandatory, and schools that wish to teach creationism exclusively may do so. I guess I could do... No. I mean, these are essentially the... Well, no, this isn't necessarily the same thing. Because in this case, it's kind of like how it is here in America where you have to... Wait. Yeah, you have to teach evolution. I think there are some cases where you don't have to, like in religious schools and such. But other than that, like, yeah, you have to teach evolution. So I guess I could go with that, but that could be kind of forceful there. I feel like splitting the hairs might be too much. So yeah, I'll just stay out of it. We'll stick to the current system. I can't believe this. This will certainly help us retain our popularity among conservatives. Also, a less educated populace is more easily managed. I can't believe you just said that. They turned and looked at each other. Lucien lifted his eyebrow and Sierra held his gaze for a couple seconds. The meeting ended shortly after. Of course she's not happy with me. She's never happy with me. Okay, Kisara Kibner has prepared a language bill. I'm sure that's going to be nice. And secret state police investigation update. Let's see. You've completed the preliminary investigation and have found nothing. I don't care if you find nothing. Make something up. Jesus Christ. Economic report from Volgin. What else do we have here? Governor Valoran reports results. Okay. And what do we have up here? Agnolian trade deal update. Okay. And over here in Wayland. Grunbergian spy has been found in Wayland. Interesting. And they're going to stand for trial for treason later this month. And the Blutish Freedom Front has been neutralized in Wayland. Perhaps we can do the same thing here. Nationalize the Big Four now. Okay. Overblown rights case appealed. Kassar raises the Blutish question. Loaded language there. Dare prepares for day of dissension. And with Swordland today, privatization, the future of Swordland. So yeah, they're happy about that. So yeah, I might actually, okay, so I'm going to privatize a lot of these corporations. So yeah, that's going to be difficult in the future. So let's continue on to the next chapter. And then after that, I will wrap this video up. Chapter 3, Victim of Changes. Let's see what we got here. And hopefully the economy will have improved a bit. Jesus. Okay, we're working on the industrial zone, so that's going ahead. A call from Marcel Caranti. Oh God, what could this be about? And then there's the radical. World ignores the Blutish plight. Geopolitical. Volgish man shot after burning Agnolian flag. Okay. Alright, I'll go ahead and do this last thing. What's going on here? BFF recruitment. Okay. It's always nice. I have to deal with them at some point. But alright, I'll take this call from Marcel Caranti and then I'll wrap this up. I was in my office looking through the agenda for the upcoming meeting at the Ministry of Economy. The meeting was going to be about the ownership of the Big Four, the four largest companies in Swordland: Heart of Swordland, Bergia Steel, the Swordish State Corporation, and the Dam Mining Group. Some of these companies were controlled in part or entirely by the state. The others were mostly or completely privatized. I had the power to change that. The phone rang and I put the agenda down. Let's see. What do we got here? Greetings, Mr. President. I'm sorry to disturb you before such an important meeting, but I thought now would be a good time to talk about our arrangement. I'm sure you'll agree that the support I and my network have given your administration has been nothing but beneficial. Half of the non-state media in the country has been sharing positive news about you and downplaying negative events. It has been successful so far. I'm glad you agree. Your public opinion could have nosedived were it not for us. I heard him knock on wood. On another note, excuse me. I wanted to thank you for choosing Underhall Construction to complete the L1 railway. The mayor of Conriat, Chris Shar, is a close friend and an investor in Underhall, and your contracting of the firm has tripled his returns. Underhall has been a pleasure to work with. They made our opening a success. It is the #1 construction company in Zorland, after all. Moving on, I know it's been a while, but I have to give credit where it's due, or overdue in this case. Your business bailout greatly benefited certain subsidiaries of HOS that were reporting record losses. We managed to avoid closing those companies, and they satisfied the board of HOS with a high profit report in return. So I'm wondering, now that I think about it, if we don't make a deal with Marcel and we go towards a more state-planned economy, would that put him in jeopardy with the board? Because ultimately his power comes from them. Interesting. Ensuring employment was our primary target. Of course. I can't help but mention the tax breaks, Mr. President. They have been extraordinarily beneficial to our quarterly performance. HOS is now operating on a much larger revenue pool to have successfully strengthened the backbone of the Swedish economy. Of course, private corporations have had to have a financial leg up to boost investments. You couldn't be more right. He paused for a few seconds. Out of goodwill, I will share a key piece of information. The Lothberg Group has contingency plans if you decide to do anything rash that would disrupt their empires. You can't blame them, can you? Imagine someone trying to take your authority and personal wealth away without your consent. I don't see why we should be enemies. Exactly. If everyone plays their cards right, it will be all fine. Now, let's talk about those cards. Since the start of your campaign, you've wisely committed to a market economy. Judging by that, I'm sure you're looking into privatizing some of the companies that are currently state-owned. I believe, therefore, that privatizing both Nadam Mining Group and the Swedish State Corporation would be in both of our interests. After all, I'm considering buying stocks in both companies. Let me see. Yeah, I planned on doing that, so yeah. Think about it this way. It is another step forward in strengthening of our economy. Please at least think about it. He cleared his throat. I will be blunt. Mr. Tusk is unfit to be the spokesperson for the Lothberg Group. His archaic thinking has only preserved the status quo that benefits himself and a precious few others. It is high time something changed. I see where this is going. I want him gone. It is time the group had a proper leader. Me. Here's what I propose, a win-win situation. If you promise me a majority of shares from the privatization, he would lose considerable power, which means I could take over. You may recall that one of the terms of our agreement was that I may ask you for one favor. Well, this is it. Do you accept? I don't have a problem with that. I don't like Tusk anyway. He's a sleazebag. Of course, deal's a deal. Garantes always keep their word, my father said. He would have liked you. Sounds like a Lannister. I've taken up enough of your time today. This has been a productive call. Thank you for your time, Mr. President. Thanks, Marcel. Talk to you later. After a couple minutes, I went back to reviewing the agenda. Alright, so let's go ahead and read these reports. Illegal crossings rise at the Wayland border. I always knew that was going to be a thing. Suzerain locals protest against the military presence in Wayland. Not happy about that. And let's see what news articles we have. From the Chaven Times, protests continue against the government intervention in Wayland. The Radical, demonstrations against President Rain because of my shitty approval rating. And Wayland Operation Aftermath continues. So yeah, we're starting to deal with that. Maybe we shouldn't have gotten involved in that. But hey, we got a lot of trade out of that. So that's what's important. So in the next video, we will turn around and look at requested meeting of Lucien Gallard. That's going to be an interesting one. A very interesting one. So all I'm going to say about that one is that I'm not going to say anything about that. So, but yeah, it's going to be a very interesting meeting. And there's going to be some changes in my cabinet. So, General Staff has a positive reaction there. USP meeting shows support to the president. So, yeah. There's that. But yeah, in the next video, we're going to make some cabinet changes, more than likely. And some other drastic changes. But yeah, things are kind of heating up now. So thank you for watching this. If you liked the video, please like the video. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. I have plenty of things in my library and much more to come. I will see you in the next one. See ya.